journey go too rough. So you know, girl, I be feeling this love. Even when I'm down, you wonder waiting this up. It's not blessing, I'ma no be luck. Baby, nobody feel day like you. I said nobody feel make me feel the way you do. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go check low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. 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 My lady, you know me no fit give up on you never. Wanna be with you forever, 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 forever. Oh baby, where we dey go? Now forward and far, backward never. Them they pray make we run down never, 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 never. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go check low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. They never know. They never know. Without you, baby, the journey go too rough. So you know, girl, I be feeling this love. Even when I'm down, you wonder waiting this up. It's not blessing, I'ma no be luck. Baby, nobody feel day like you. I said nobody feel.
Check 1 2, check 1 2. Hi everybody, there we go. It's a Thursday evening. This is the third Hohner Live of 2024. Thank you for tuning in for episode 104. That's crazy. I think we got a few more to go before we change kind of like the format of this. We are thinking about calling this Hohner Inside and do some new stuff. Let's see how it goes. But I'm super excited about today's special guest. This is the first time we are talking to each other. We get to know each other. I think we know about each other for a long time. So please welcome with me. Give him a big hand in the chat. I want to see a lot of clapping hands. This is Richard Sleigh. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, I think this is long due, right? And thinking about it, maybe it was 2010. That was the first time I heard you and your playing. Maybe even earlier on YouTube, but I know that you put out this album with Dennis Grönling. Was that in 2010? Maybe.
Yeah, it was, that sounds about right. Yes.
So yeah, I listened to that a lot.
Oh, nice.
So that
nice
was when I was 15.
Wow.
And YouTube was going crazy with the harmonica. I was just hanging out on YouTube, right?
All right. Yeah, that must have been, yeah. How old are you now?
I'm 28.
You're 28. Okay, I'm 72. When I was 15, I was listening to the Beatles on a jukebox.
Yeah.
A 45 RPM record. You know, I mean, Yeah, it was a very different world. We had rotary telephones. You would dial a number like this. It was probably sounds like somebody talking about the Civil War.
But yeah, I mean, at the same time, I think like the live performance phone recordings I checked out on YouTube probably weren't much better quality. Like I was going searching on YouTube for the latest performances of Jason and everybody, you know, checking out what they played last night in some club.
Yeah.
And if there was something I wasn't able to play, I just practiced it until I could. So that was how I learned, just like researching the stuff on YouTube.
Yes. And when you first started, what harmonica were you playing? Which model?
Oh, the guy that inspired me, who appeared on TV, he played a blues harp MS, a Hohner. So that's obviously why I had to get the same instrument. And
okay. So was it the modular series blues harp?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And when you started playing the overblows, when you started getting into that, how did you change in terms of the harmonica you played?
Yeah. At that time, there was a fantastic harmonica online shop in Germany called Harp Online.
Yes.
It was led by Michael Timler, who also worked for Hohner, and he did amazing work. And I think it was like one of these instruments I played my first overblows on. It was a marine band. Oh no, it was a D Special 20.
Okay.
With like what's that material? Let me check. Like acrylic glass comb.
Yeah, an acrylic comb.
Yeah.
So he replaced the comb with an acrylic comb.
Exactly, and it was also set up for overblows, kind of.
Right. And so at that time, it might have been made. I'm trying to think of who was making combs at that time. Blue X or somebody like that. Because the comb with the Special 20, it's recessed, so it's a much more complicated job to do the milling.
I mean, I can tell for sure. Maybe it was a marine band, but Special 20 cover plates put on it. You know.
That would be a good combination.
Yeah.
That would be very similar. Yeah, that's what Howard was playing.
But there was an amazing online shop, Harp Online.
Yeah. He was a real force in the harmonica world for quite a while. You know, in that arena.
So for you, what was first, like your interest in, let's call it mechanics, or was it music first?
It was music first. When I was a kid, I was playing guitar. I started playing some harmonic on the rack just because that's what Bob Dylan was doing. This is in the 60s. I had a great uncle who played, he used to work on the Pennsylvania Railroad, and he did some basic steam train imitations, and he also played in the old tongue blocking style, so I was hearing this kind of with the old the pure just intonation.
Oh yeah.
And, that kind of stuff. And, and he played, just stuff like Irish Washerwoman. And so I got that in my ear. I didn't do much with it at first, but then when I went to Altoona campus and started, I was 17. And I had a friend, a guy I met there. His name was Denny Scanlon, and he played harmonica in the style of like Woody Guthrie and that sort of stuff. And I heard Woody Guthrie doing a piece called "The Lost Boy" or "Lost John."
Oh yeah,
I know
that one.
that particular piece, you know, all of that stuff. I just that to me got me playing chords. It got me, doing all of that. All of that kind of stuff. And I just, it kind of put me in a daze. I was just walking around with my G harmonica.
Oh yeah.
And I just kind of like everything else in the world started fading away. And then I started listening. There was a double album, The Story of the Blues, and it had John Lee Williamson on it. And it had Sonny Boy Williamson and Little Walter, and just all a cross section of the great harmonica players. And that's when I like totally went off the deep end. And it took me like 3 weeks to figure out how to bend a note.
Okay.
I just kept working and working at it, and it was like strangling. And like nobody wanted to be around me. And
yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Like, what did other people think of you playing harmonica in those early stages?
Well, one of the things that was really great for me, because I'm super shy. I'm a real introvert. It's like I did not want to call attention to myself. So I could sit in the back of a car while we're with a bunch of my friends, and I just learned how to cup the harmonica. So you could just barely hear me.
Yeah.
And one of the things I discovered much later on was that because I learned to play the harmonica really quietly, I had a lot more control over it.
Right.
And, the extroverts who were like, blasting it out and learning to bend by basically beating the crap out of the harmonica. So my harmonicas lasted 3 times longer than, when I started meeting other people, they're like, why do your harmonicas last so long? Yeah. And part of it was because I learned how to get more volume out of it as well as everything else by what was going on inside of my mouth. But, I remember, the day I was in my dorm room and it finally went. And then it was like, I sort of felt like somebody pulled the rug out from underneath me. It was like Alice in Wonderland. It was like this whole new world of, this is the most amazing thing ever.
Interesting. It's like, because I don't really remember the moment I discovered bending or when I learned it. I remember discovering playing the overblows, getting them for the first time, which was very tough. It was a fight, basically. But
yes,
don't have too much memories about playing bends for the first time, because I also think it's like such a long journey from there, like from getting your first band to actually sounding nice.
yeah, being able to play notes with the bent notes. It was like from that point, like within a few months. See, at that time, when I went to school, I was more of I was a guitar player.
Yeah.
But there were so many other guitar players who were like so much better than me that I'd go to a party and there'd already be 4 guitar players who were like a lot better than me, and I just couldn't get in anyway. But once I started playing the harmonica, I could be on the edge of the jam, and then start playing things, and then I would get invited in.
Yeah.
Because I was learning to play things, I learned how to stay out of the way, and then they would be like, go ahead, do something, instead of please go away.
Yeah. You already mentioned like the just intonation tuning, like nowadays in your box of harmonicas, like what do you carry? Is it like some are tuned that way, some are the other way, or do you just stick to one particular tuning?
I usually I have an all-purpose tuning where I'm just dropping the thirds enough that the chords sound decent.
Yeah.
But the notes sound on tune for the most part. And that's pretty much what I do. There are times when I'll have a performance and I'll have a particular song and I will tune the harmonica for that particular song.
Okay.
Including sometimes alternative tunings. Like I have, where is that thing? Like, you remember Jimmy Gordon? You heard of, he used to work with Flisco and I. We were driving to the Spa convention, and I knew I wanted to be playing Shady Grove. And I had this tuning where I tuned the low octave the same, it's kind of like, it's also called easy thirds.
Oh yeah, true.
Okay. And everything was working except for one thing, which was like when I went up the harmonica on the draw notes, it was draw 7 was just not right.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it just wasn't working. And so I'm driving along and I'm playing this, and and I said, I really hate skipping around that note. And Jimmy said, well, why don't you just take your thumb and push it into the slot and disable it?
Interesting.
And while we're driving, I got my tools out, put a towel on my, and turned around, and I did that. And I ended up with a harmonica that I could basically play recklessly and never hit a bad note.
Yeah.
So it's like, that interval up there. And then if you play below 7,
oh yeah,
you get an ultra bend. And so, with that harp, that's the only song I play in that harmonica. And so
I'm starting to feel ashamed of my out of tune instruments. I'm even too lazy to send them out to my customizer and get them tuned.
Do you work on your own instruments?
I can set things up. Mm-hmm. Probably not as good as a actual customizer. but I
Right.
never tune a reed.
Really?
Yeah.
You never tuned a reed? That's amazing.
Now's my time to ask you, like, what should I get? How am I going to tune my reeds most efficiently?
Well, probably since you play the Hohner harmonicas and you're playing the brass reeds, you could use just a basic triangular file, and you know, and I use a draw scraper that Joe Falisco and I developed that scrapes the reed on the pull. Hohner also makes a push scraper. It has a little tiny rod in it. And do you also play chromatic?
A little, yeah.
A little, yeah. Well, the nice thing about the Hohner push scraper is that you can use it on a chromatic underneath the wind saver to drop the pitch.
Okay, yeah.
And it's a nice tool. You don't have to do crazy things to get inside to that part of the reed.
I think I even do have that special tuning scraper.
Yeah, it looks like a little silver pen shaped thing, and then there's this little super thin rod, on the end of it. And so I use that part of the time. I use the draw scrapers a lot. I have also seen other people use a little, a motorized thing with the little, like it looks like an eraser, and they're nice because they kind of polish the reed. But yeah, I've got, I'll email you some ideas. I mean, I have some tools that I've designed. I basically use my own design tools. I have a draw scraper. I have reed lifters and reed wrenches. I have a reed shaper tool that I also use for pushing the blow reeds up to catch in the slot to hold them up to get the tip of the file on the reed.
Yeah.
That's what I've gotten used to. I mean, I've also seen other people use other systems, but learning to tune, it's a nice skill to have.
Yeah.
They're
because in the end, like intonation and just sounding in tune in general is like so important to me, but I'm so lazy with.
Well, you could. I'm sure you could learn enough to have like just a very simple set with you, and you're in the green room. You've got a gig. There's one note that's annoying you. It's easy to get that note to the point where it's no longer annoying. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
That's kind of the first stage of tuning, is just taking care of the ones that sound bad.
Right.
And then from that point you can get to the point where you can dial in more and more levels of whatever it is you want. But your intonation is phenomenal. I always say that the final tuning happens on stage.
Yeah.
When you're playing, even for the built-in notes.
That's very true. I mean, the only thing you can change about the actual tuning is that if a reed is already too low, like you can't play it higher than it's tuned already. And that's like, I had this 2 times now. A radio recording, I heard like afterwards, oh yeah, that 5-hole blow, that's too flat. And you can't do anything about it, but yeah.
Yeah, five draw.
Even shaping the natural notes yourself is so important for intonation.
Yeah, some harmonica players will tune everything a little bit sharp.
Yeah.
Or sharper than normal, and then then they've got some leeway. The 5 draw, you can tune it like Mad Cat tunes his 5 draw almost 14 cents sharp.
Okay.
And it gives him all. For one thing, it's more, it's closer. It's very, very close to just intonation for the minor chord. For that
Oh, okay.
C harp, the D minor chord.
Yeah.
Uh, and then when you do play it as a melody note, you've got all that room to dial it in. And when you do bend it, you have a little more room to kind of work the vibrato. So it's a nice, that's a note that you can safely tune too sharp, and it will almost never give you any trouble.
Yeah.
But but I only use the every once in a while I will use the pure just, because if you like, for instance, if you play the double stops on the high end, you hear that third note, that difference tone coming in. Okay, now, fine. Okay, let me find my other G harp. This is something that I really I really think there somebody should be doing more with this idea, because especially when you play through an amplifier and you play those chord fragments in the top end, if you play that through an amplifier, that low note just sounds amazing because it's in tune. It's the root.
Yeah. Very true.
And same for the blow. So when you have those notes really tuned right, there are some things you can do through an, particularly through an amplifier.
Yeah.
That you never hear. I do it every once in a while, on stage as part of, working it as a blues, and the other thing about it is, like, when you listen to Big Walter's classic recording of Easy, when he gets to that, that chord, you really hear. And the other one is James Cotton, The Creeper, when you're hearing those those super low difference tones, and I've heard him play that through a big amp, and when he's playing an old school Marine band, he hits those chords. That's one of those things that a lot of people hear in the old classic recordings, and they don't even, a lot of people just don't know what they're listening to. They're like, it sounds so awesome. What is that? It's that difference tone, which is in there, but it's almost inaudible. But it's a subtle thing that comes out more in amplifiers. And so, I mean, Kim Wilson uses some just tuned in harmonicas because he's listened to those records so many times that he knows that's part of the palette that he has to work with. And Dennis Grunling, on the other hand, almost never plays them because he's such a melodic player.
Yeah.
And, the pure just is the last thing you want to have in your hand if you're in a horn section, because it's, almost 30 cents flat. And it sounds terrible as a melody note.
Yeah. I'm thinking of going equal temperament all in, like as soon as you start to play with orchestras and stuff.
Oh yeah. So. Well, that absolutely. I mean, when you're playing with an orchestra, Yeah, those people, they've got their ears, and a lot of the stuff you're playing with orchestras is almost entirely a single note.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
not a whole lot of double stops. And even when there are double stops with pure equal temperament, you will, because your intonation is so good and you're so used to doing this, you will automatically temper.
Still kind of influence the pitch, yeah.
Yeah. I think if you listen to your double stops, you'll find that it's like we become so in tune with this instrument that we're automatically doing things we're not even aware that we're doing them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the pure equal temperament for you, and and if you err in any direction, it would be slightly sharp. Then you could, I think it would sound terrific for what you're doing. I mean, that's what Howard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a
played.
huge fan of playing double stops and stuff, but
Mhm.
yeah, I just started
But
noticing with the orchestras especially.
but if you're playing solo harmonica pieces, you might find that if you play around with these pure just,
Yeah.
that there are things you can do on them that you can't do any other way. Um,
I don't know about the physics of stuff, but this just came to my mind because I also started to play this early on to kind of learn on how to overblow, like the Suzuki overdrive.
right.
Like having a specific air channel for every hole basically, or every reed. Does
Mhm.
that influence these different tones when you play double stops? Do they become
Um,
quieter or louder or?
um, well, yeah. The thing, if you're playing, if as the more you go up the harmonica, the more the double stops are going to create out of tune
Yeah.
difference tones, and that's when I find people will end up doing like splits, so that they're not right next to each other. Then you don't hear the difference tone.
Yeah. Okay.
And you're probably automatically correcting for that, because as soon as you hear those you know uh, I'll find a better example. Here's one. You'd only have to hear that once to know that that's not something you want to do.
Yeah. Also interesting because like I put out this basically like a pop single last year, and it had a harmonica hook, and it was full of double stops. It was really just like just trying to remember which harmonica I played on.
Was that the thing you played as a theme for when you did the show with Jason?
Oh yeah, I think it's I think I set it to the preview music of the streams now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's full of double stops.
Yeah, it's killer hook, and it's all double stops.
Yeah, and like
Great.
I remember trying to just EQ out these difference tones a little. You know?
But see, that's where, if you either get your tech to set some things up for that particular thing, or learn to do it yourself, to just drop the thirds a little bit.
Yeah.
And you have that harmonica for that section of it, and then you've got your equal temperament for the solo.
Yeah.
I
want to take a look at the chat because there are questions and more comments. Oh yeah, let's start out with Boaz. I know that Richard
Boaz.
is constantly discovering new customizing techniques through experimenting. Is there anything revolutionary that he's just discovered?
I would say not really. I'm still just basically continuing to refine. There's the fundamentals of how the reed sits, There's the fundamentals of how you sight the reed through the slot, and how you make sure that the reed is not you know, like you want the reed to not be cockeyed this way. You want it to go into that slot flat. You want it to be able to, when it goes through that slot, that nanosecond when it's going through the slot, that's when you want it to, as completely as possible, close off the slot. And the subtleties of making that happen is a lifetime effort in getting better at shaping brass.
Yeah.
Moving it, burnishing it, closing the slots a little bit around the reeds. All of those things make a difference. And I really can't think of any big breakthroughs I've had in the last couple of years. I just continue to try to get better at what I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay. What else? Interesting, Konstantin, about never tuning your own. Yeah, I think I tuned a harmonica before, but then it was like tuning it to special tuning just for fun, trying it out like many years ago. I think I tuned the harmonica to Paddy Richter, and I tuned one to the power bender tuning, and I remember destroying all the drawings in the upper octave.
Yeah, that's hard. That's not an easy tuning to do with a stock harmonica.
And I'm very sure I heard it in one of your videos.
Yeah, I have a video,
and I was just like, I just loved this blow chord in the middle of the instrument, this suspended sound. That's why I wanted to try it out. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a guy I worked with in New Orleans, Maxwell Dulaney, who came up with a completely alternative tuning system for some experimental harmonicas based on the overtone series. So he was not tuning it to, major scale notes. He had me tuning all these notes that were in between the notes. And he wrote a couple of pieces. He sent me an example of one of the pieces, which is the third part of a concerto that he put together. And the chords were these interesting microtonal chords that were, some of the overtones are very close to quarter tones. And the farther you go up the overtone series, the closer together the intervals get. I'm looking at my desk. I'm going to take a quick look there. I might have one of those harps.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's interesting, Boaz. And I think I tuned something to a circular tuning, which was called True Chromatic. I heard Alex Packlin play it.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the spiral tuning.
Yeah, it was some sort of a spiral tuning. Definitely like the breathing pattern repeated every... If you jump up 2 holds, you get the same stuff, just in another key.
Right. It starts with a blow C. The next C is a draw C. And then there are thirds the whole way up and down.
Yeah.
I tried that out too, and then I decided that I would probably go insane if I tried.
But yeah, I loved the sound of it, and it was half valve too. Mm-hmm. The instrument I tried, yeah.
Well, when Joe Flisco and I were really, we worked together very closely for a few years. And at one point when we were studying the overtone series and everything, he tuned a harmonica to the overtone series, and then I copied what he did. And so this is on the draw notes on this harmonica. Like the blow notes are pure just. it's typical. It's nothing's changed there. But on the draw notes, as you go up the harmonica, they go deeper into the overtone series. So normal. That's pure just there, but
Oh yeah.
and so the harmonicas I made for Maxwell Dulaney were kind of took this idea and extended it 2 more holes and had an overblow series or an overtone series on both the blow notes and the draw notes. So when you get up on the top end of those harmonicas, it's very, very eerie sounding. The music that he was writing for them was it sounds like kind of like movie mood music. There's no specific, it's all these shades of chord, microtonal chords. And it's this whole other world. There are these composers that have who is a Harry Parch. You ever hear of him? I think that was
so.
He invented his own instruments. He had these 28 note scales that were built on the overtone series, and his music was just otherworldly. And it's this whole world of just intonation that is fascinating, and it can be maddening if you try to understand it. Pat Misson knows more about the math than I do, and there's a thing called in San Francisco. There's a Just Intonation Society, and I sent away for some of their information. And the first packet I got after about 4 pages in, I'm like, this is so over my head.
Yeah.
I'm never going to understand these equations, and but I love the way it sounds.
But I feel like it's good in general to just inform harmonica players about these different tunings.
Yes, yeah, I think and as far as like the alternative tuning, like Joel Anderson plays the easy thirds, Rick Epping plays, so for Celtic music, it in particular, it gives you all these textures and chords that you can play, and that just make the sound super fat. And so when you're playing at a session, and now if you're playing like an octave harp, and you're playing splits on an octave harp, and you're playing these, then now you've got like 8 reeds going, instead of 2.
Yeah.
And it's a whole different experience, But then you're working with the built-in notes of the harmonica. There's very little there's not a whole lot of bending going on in those tunings.
Yeah. Once they named me, I wasn't, says, Richard is a quiet genius. Konstantin, you're a genius beyond your ears. That's what he typed into the chat. Richard, thanks for your lesson on Big Boy Barrett's channel. Do you overblow?
Do I overblow?
Yeah, that's the question, I guess.
If I need to. Yeah, if I need to. There are some tunes that's the only way that that I can get what I want out of the harmonica. I tried for a long time to get really good at overblows. I discovered them in the 80s, and like everybody else, I went to my first spa convention in 1984. And it was like there was this weird tribal thing going on. There were the chromatic harmonica players who looked down on the blues harmonica players. There were the blues harmonica players who hated the overblow players because they were just getting started and most of them didn't know what they were doing and sounded terrible.
Yeah.
And they were worshiping Howard Levy, and Howard Levy was like the Antichrist to people who were grew up listening to classic Chicago blues. And so there were all these sort of like little camps, and I just wanted to check everything out. I remember taking a harmonica with me that I'd taken part of the cover plate off, because then you could touch the below notes, and it made it a lot easier to play the overblows. It was kind of like the overdrive concept, only directly touching the slots. And that was a lot of fun. And then in 1984, I ended up Chamber Huang explained to me exactly how the reeds work together to produce traditional bends. And that's when I went home shortly after that convention, and I spent the next 3 weeks trying to figure out how to make that idea into something that would allow me to play a marine band and bend the blow notes as well as the draw notes. And I ended up coming up with a way of doing that, and I was working on writing a patent for it and building these prototypes. This was my first full prototype. I used a CBH mouthpiece that I turned into a 10-hole harmonica, and then each one of these little things has 2 marine band reeds in a piece of a reed plate, and then there are one-way valves. It probably doesn't play at all anymore, but little paper one-way valves. So anyhow, I was trying to figure, I had this idea, and then later on I found out that Will Scarlett had invented the idea in the 60s, and that Rick Epping had been working on the idea, and that Brendan Power had been working on the idea, and none of us were, it was like, I wasn't aware of what Brendan was doing. Rick wasn't aware of what I was doing. In 1997, I went to the World Harmonica thing in Trossingen. And I remember on the way back to the airport, this hand came forward and handed me a harmonica. And it was Brendan. He was in the backseat, Brendan Power. And he said, check this out. And I was playing it, and what it was his version of the enabler reed idea in a 30 reed harmonica with 20 valves. So you could bend all, and I was like, oh man, it's because I was working on the same thing. And I was like, oh, he's beat me to it, But now, actually, it was a few years earlier that Rick got his patent.
Yeah.
So we had been talking about it, and then he showed me his thing, and I talked about some of the stuff I was working on. And then we used to joke that there was another guy he found in somewhere in Eastern Europe who also independently discovered the idea and had built himself a set of these harmonicas. We used to joke about, being having a support group for people who came up with this idea, but never were able to get it in the marketplace. But so I, one of the things that the reason I met Joe Falisco was I was building these prototypes. This was one of the ones I showed Joe. Okay. I had all this stuff machined and 2 harmonicas put together, and into a mouthpiece. And I went to Joliet to show Joe my inventions, and and he made me a mouthpiece. We got to know each other, and even though my harmonica never really got it never really worked right. I'll just put it that way. Make a long story short, uh, it because I was trying to do it without traditional wind savers. But anyhow, Joe invited me to start working on harmonicas and customizing harmonicas when he got overwhelmed. And so even though the invention never went anywhere, it got me into this whole network with Joe in particular, and then building the custom marine bands, and then learning what the regular diatonic harmonica could do. And like, you're a prime example of 20 reeds, 10 holes. You can do anything with it, But years later, I ended up working with Brendan and a young fellow named Zombor Kovacs. And we built 50 of this harmonica that Brendan and Zombor designed and put together, that has 30 reeds and 20 valves, the MB30. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Okay, yeah.
And it's one of those, it's like part of my own strange journey as a harmonica player, is that this is kind of my main instrument, but I don't have a complete set of them. I've managed to find and cobble together A, B flat, C, D, and G. And when I play gigs, it's like, a lot of my, best solos are the ones that I play on those harps, because I'm able to do, all of these other, bends, like, so in the middle octave, one of the, and I would love to have a complete set of them. Right now, mostly what I'm working on is trying to build a couple of extra ones, so that in A and C, so that if one of them, if they're, I'm one of the few people that can play this harmonica because it ends up in the shop so much. It's so complicated. The wind savers are much trickier than a typical wind saver, and but like this is one of the tunes I do that kind of showcases some of the things you can do with it. You know that I love you. Honest, I do. I never ever play no one above you. Please tell me you love me. Stop driving me mad. You're the sweetest little woman that I ever had. you know. So there's,
Cool. Yeah.
it's like this is like this little world that I have that I've been exploring for years. I haven't really recorded much of it. That's one I am definitely going to record. But just being able to, to be able to bend those chords in the middle of the harp. There's just a whole lot of things that I've never been able to do on a normal harmonica, and I keep kind of working at it and seeing where I can take it.
Nice. You also asked Konstantin, how can I get your new book? I gotta ask them again. They are slow making the layout. It's part of the DIY series by Hal Leonard. They already have some books out on banjo and guitar, and it will be part of that series. So you will find it as soon as it's out.
So your book is going to be on diatonic?
Yeah, it's just a beginner instruction book, but like with a lot of songs.
Oh, nice. That's great. Did you ever listen to Will Gallison's book on Hal Leonard?
No.
Oh, it's beautiful. He does Autumn Leaves, and his solo, and chromatic. It sounds beautiful on a diatonic.
Okay.
And actually, you can cop most of his riffs. So it's an interesting piece. Yeah.
Nice. Boaz says, I'd say the channel sizes in the comb would influence the difference tones to a degree, mostly noticeable on the highest octave.
Yes, he's right.
Okay.
And that's one of the with the chromatic harmonicas, one of the things that and the XB40 on the high end of the harmonica, sometimes you want to fill in those chambers a little bit to get the notes to really sound right. You kind of have to tune the chamber a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Little Dre says or asks, who is your favorite harmonica player you've customized a harmonica for?
Oh my, geez. Well, absolute, no question, Dennis Grinling is way up there. I mean, early on, Joe and we kind of had a friendly rivalry trying to see who could make the craziest low-tuned harmonicas for Dennis. And so it was part of his journey mixed with ours as far as the low-tuned harps. But I've made harmonicas for some really great players, Mickey Raphael, I've tuned some of Howard's harps, Rick Estrin, love the way, Rick Estrin, he kind of gets this nice compromise, like the draw 5 is like halfway between equal and just. Okay. And it gives him, he can make it sound good for just about anything. I think Joe pretty much does his harps now, but I did his harps for a while. Grant Dermody, he's another great player. Built harps for, and it's hard for me to remember, but yeah.
Okay. Robert Davis, musician, says easy third tuning is a whole tone down in holes 2 and 3. Do you lower the pitch at the rivet end or at the tip? Which approach is better?
When I built, where's my easy third? Okay, this one that I built, I ended up using solder to drop the pitch in some of the reeds. And that was the easiest way to get there, because if you're really dropping the pitch a lot and you scrape near the rivet, the reed gets too thin.
Yeah.
Rick Epping has done, I'm not sure exactly where it is, but he did a master class that was online on retuning and doing stuff and using solder and all that kind of stuff. And that was a couple of years ago. But yeah, solder is a lot easier in the reeds than scraping them down.
Okay. Well, what's your favorite way of getting rid of these squeezy noises when overblowing?
I made a mixture of the most refined version of this was I have a little tiny crock pot, and I don't have exact measurements because the wax changes in consistency, but I use super filtered beeswax, like quadruple filtered beeswax, and a little bit of, and I used jojoba oil, Jojoba, because it's a plant oil and there are 0 carcinogens in it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of, there's that other, what is the name of that other wax? Carnauba. It's like hard flakes, little flakes, and a little bit of that gives it. And so what you do is you mix it up, and you heat it up, it all melts, and then you let it sit, and then you try it. And then you add more wax or more oil, depending on what you, but you want to get something that is stiff enough that it stays in that, you're putting it right here.
Yeah.
There's just like this little tiny triangle of that wax right there, and you wipe off the excess. And so the stuff I ended up making was stiffer than chapstick, but not as hard as like rosin for a violin bow. It was somewhere in between.
Okay.
And then I'm just using a very, very thin, like miniature putty knife,
Yeah,
to put it in, and then I wipe off the excess with my finger, and then piece of terry cloth, finger on terry cloth back to the, and you just kind of rub it, and it's almost invisible when you're done, but it not only takes care of overblow squealing, but every once in a while you get a harmonica that for some reason draw 2 or draw 3 gets a little weird sizzly sound to it, and it will take care of that as well.
yeah. Okay.
So you just kind of make your own.
I see. Yeah, I just put Scotch tape right in the middle of the reed.
I have tried that, and it seems to work.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, whatever works for you. Does it change the pitch?
Don't ask me about change of pitch on those reeds, but yeah, it just works for me.
Hey, I have a question for you. When you were playing your version of Georgia, did you switch harmonicas?
Like on the CD recording?
Yes.
No, I never. No, that was all on G harmonica
What position?
in 11th.
11th. Okay. All right. Okay, that explains that. Yeah, because I was not playing it in that position.
Okay.
And there was one point in the bridge where you're playing something and I'm going, how are you doing that?
Oh yeah. Okay.
So 11th. And yeah, that is a really cool position. Nuage is another tune that's that sounds awesome in that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a little different having this unstable root note.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing like having a bent note for root note to keep you on high alert.
Yeah.
When you're playing.
Adam West says, I'm considering taking a low F and raising the pitch on all the reeds to make a low F sharp. Likely this will be a rocket, but I am open to using a Thunderbird. Any suggestions, Richard?
Low F raised. I guess my first question is, why? Why not just get a F sharp, low F sharp? I don't think it's going to give you any great advantage. I mean, if I were going to do that, I would be more inclined to take a G harmonica and use solder and drop it down a half a pitch, and then the reeds would be a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
Because if you did it the other way, if you can raise it a half a pitch, and the reed would still be thick at the rivet end, so that would work. But you might find on the high end of the harmonica, raising the draw and blow 10 up a half step could be a little bit risky.
Okay.
I have destroyed. At one point, Joe Falisco and I were making long slot Ds, taking a C harmonica and tuning it up to D, and it made incredible sounding harmonicas in the first octave. But when you got to that top octave, those high notes were so thin; they were like tinfoil.
Okay.
And they were really, really fragile, and it was sort of like you had to look for magic reeds that were a little bit thicker than normal to be able to get away with it. But I don't play those anymore because they're too much a hassle to work on.
Yeah. Pete says, Richard, I wanted to thank you for the tips for my back. It's getting better.
Oh, okay.
What are those tips?
Yeah, I wrote an email out to my list about learning to redo my posture. I learned some exercises to regain more space in the front of my body, because I tended to hunch over.
Yeah.
And a lot of harmonica players do that. And one of the things you can learn by watching Dennis Grinling, and you also have really good posture, is that if you stand up straight, and especially if you lean back just a little bit, your lungs have a lot more room to work. And what was happening to me was, after 50 years of being hunched over a workbench and or a keyboard or whatever, and being a little sloppy about my posture, is that I started to get bent over in a way that required some professional help to start reversing it. So there are exercises you can learn. If anybody's interested, they can email me. I'll send you some PDFs, the ones that I got from my chiropractor.
Yeah. Pete again. Are steel and phosphor bronze reeds harder to work on than brass?
Phosphor bronze is pretty easy to work on. The stainless steel requires a different, like a carbide file instead of a normal Swiss steel file, because the stainless steel reeds are, like you can't use my draw scraper on stainless steel reeds. The reeds are, the metal's too hard. It chips that razor edge of the draw scraper. And since I've almost always played the Hohner with the brass reeds,
Yeah.
I never developed the reflexes to tune the Seidel, the harmonicas. But I know people who do. I know people who play them, and Pat Bergeson, Aki Kumar, and they make them sound fantastic. So it's like whatever floats your boat, whatever you get used to. But for me, the Hohner has always been, that's what I grew up listening to. And there are things that I hear in the Hohner architecture and the Marine Band in particular that, that I don't hear really. It's not this, every instrument's a little different. It's like having a Telecaster or a Stratocaster or, whatever. But yeah, but you do need different tools to work on the stainless steel.
Yeah.
And I think it's the Manji does the phosphor bronze. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. That was the only instrument I ever broke a reed on.
Really?
Yeah, it was a 5-hole draw.
No kidding. Wow.
And I was practicing this. Is it a little water piece, right?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and it broke.
And I mean, yeah, I was stressing that reed a lot with this little phrase. So
that'll do it. Yeah. I've had a couple people just in the last week or so saying I'm breaking 5-draw all the time. And, it's because part of it's because the 5-draw doesn't bend a half step. It only bends a quarter tone. And if you're trying to make it bend more than a quarter tone, you're really stressing the reed.
Yeah.
In a big way, and so it's like that's when you learn to play. You learn to get the volume from your mouth, and then you end up saving a lot of money over the years.
It could also be a beginner thing, right? Maybe you're a beginner and you just learned how to band, but you don't know where you're at on the instrument, and you're just starting to band in that middle octave, and then you're on hole 5, and then you're just like, yeah.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people, it's like a cliche sort of thing, with blues harmonica is playing that chord or really leaning on that note because it's the flat 7.
Yeah.
So it's super blues note, and so it's like, maybe you're camping out on that note a little more than you need to.
What's the lowest harmonica that you had made before the Thunderbird came out? Lower than low F?
I made Dennis low A, low B flat, and low A flat. Okay. That was as low as I went.
Okay.
At that time. So that was taking a low D reed plate and then dropping it the rest of the way with solder.
Okay.
And
that's quite a lot. Yeah, that's going a tritone down.
That's one I made pretty long time ago. Double thick reed plate, low A, made from a low D. Yep.
Nice, yeah. I think the lowest I have is a low B flat.
Okay.
I actually used it in some recordings and playing a bass line. It's fun, but yeah, that's it. I don't know. I'm usually playing something in between a low F sharp and a D instrument.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
like to go any higher than D.
Yeah,
Usually,
me either. Most of the time, yeah, D's about the high end. I mean, if I am playing an F or high, I'm playing it pretty much all in the first octave,
yeah.
halfway into the second octave. Yeah.
Maybe there's some bluegrass stuff out there. That would make sense. I remember I had to record something for a pop song, and I think I got like a request online to do this, and like at the same time I was giving a harmonica lesson, but I knew about the artist, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. So there was like an online platform, and I was just like, oh yeah, accept the offer, whatever. And only later I noticed that it was played, for some reason, it was played on a high A flat harmonica.
Oh boy.
And I didn't have one. And Hohner doesn't make one, right? So
Right.
I think in the end I ordered one from Seidel.
Okay.
And they sent me a high A flat. And I tried to, I mean, it had to be done quickly. So I just like set the reeds in the lower octave, because it was just holds 1, 2, 3 for that recording. And then I did the recording. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was probably an interesting learning experience.
It was if you're in the chat, yeah, you can check it out. It's an artist called Power of Stellar, and the song is called Toy Boy.
Called what?
Power of Stellar. Yeah, Power of Stellar. I think he's from Austria. Toy Boy. And that's a high A flat harmonica. There's some regular A flat harmonica in there, but I think that was in there already. That was not what I also recorded that part, but I think they used the one they already had. Like, it's my high A flat harmonica, but the regular A flat is from somewhere else.
Okay. Yeah. Charlie McCoy used to play the high G and the high A.
Oh yeah.
sometime. Yeah.
There was also, he passed away years ago, Igor Flach from Germany. He played the high-pitched instruments.
Yeah.
High A, and he sounded incredible. Playing a lot of double stops. You can still find some of his recordings.
Yeah.
He had a very special style of playing it. Like, if I just grab a regular F, what's the highest I can get now? Here. And he played these double stops like. That was his sound.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I mean, the reeds respond that quickly, so you could be like. Sounds way better than on the lower instruments, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I love these double stops on that high-pitched harmonica.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I can't remember any particular. Hohner made a vest pocket harmonica, and they used to make that in high G and high A. And Charlie McCoy had those, as part of his kit. And I recently built myself a high G for the first time. And honestly, it's sort of like there's going to be some time at a gig when it's going to be the right harp,
Yeah.
You're playing something in D and you want chords and the band is like super loud and you're not cutting
That's it. Yeah, you got a loud band.
Right. And that's when you break out the, that's when I started really learning third position on a D harmonica. It was because I'd be playing at a gig and the band was like insanely loud. And then I realized I could cut the room on the D harmonica and play an E. And, and that's kind of what got me going on third position.
Yeah.
Survival.
Yeah, I also had to like trade blues riffs on a song, loud band and stuff. And I would have for second position it was like an F harmonica. And like there was no way of doing this on a low F. Nobody would be able to hear the harmonica.
Right. Yeah. That's what happens. And like Sonny Boy Rice Miller really learned how to work them and how to make them sound awesome. Because if you don't work them right, they can be really annoying.
Yeah. I should show this to you. I got this from my German customizer. This is a Hohner piccolo.
Oh, okay.
And it's
that's the same idea. Yeah, exactly.
fully customized basically.
Nice.
So it's like open in the back. It's a C.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it looks great.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, setting it up for overblows and everything, it's kind of limited on this small instrument, right?
They've got very short reeds.
Yeah.
So that's hard to do.
It's weird to play these small holes. Yeah, the 10 hole is a little squeezy.
Nice. You know what they're really good for? If you want to do a little showman thing, if you do this, that trip, put the harmonica in your mouth with that little harmonica, you can play more of the harmonica without moving it around so much. So Joe Falisco is very good at that. Yeah,
That's true.
One of those, the piccolo. They had a couple different names, but yeah, that's one of the things you can do with that. Yeah,
I'm not sure if I'm going to use it at some point. It could be funny at a gig.
Well, it would take a lot of driving, with the harmonica in your mouth to get to the point where you can really pull it off.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a nice closet project. Like 2 years from now, at a gig, you just pop the thing in your mouth and without warning anybody, and then you play a little. Yeah,
I mean,
kind of fun.
Rick Astron is also really good at playing hands-free.
Yes, yeah, and he would play the Marine bands with the old blues harp, the old blues harp covers, because they didn't have vents in the side.
Oh yeah.
So when I used to work on his harmonicas all the time, I would always have like a half a dozen key of C harmonicas that with these teeth marks, on the low end.
Yeah.
That like caved it. So part of the restoration was putting it on the anvil and pounding all the dents out of them.
Mm.
And then, doing the rest of the repair work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I could work on. Pete says, I have a Puck. It's the same idea. Hohner, please make them again. They don't make them anymore, right?
I don't think so. I don't.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah. Bring back the auto valve too. And the XB40 while you're at it.
Devo Bailey could play it with his nose. Yeah. Joe also does this in recording.
He also does that sometimes. Yes, two harmonicas, and that's another one of those medicine show things that is really fun. I've never learned to do that myself.
I started to do this dumb thing on TikTok 2 days ago, because like everybody does these challenges, and they are like, for every follower I get, I do this and that.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, for every follower I get, I'm going to play a note on the harmonica. And Within 2 days, I got more than on my regular account, more followers. I played 172 notes today. But I'm not sure if this is gonna work and my channel's gonna grow. But what would be a way of playing as many notes as possible on the harmonica? I mean, the piccolo is already really good. I can play 10 at the same time.
There you go. That would add up fast.
But
Yeah.
you got any other ideas? Because, like, is there a way of holding another harmonica right beneath? But there's, like, not enough air coming out of the first instrument, right?
That's a good question.
Because I'm just, like, thinking about how I'm going to continue at some point.
Right. So this is number of notes that you're playing.
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if it's musical at all.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
So you take two harmonicas. Here's like two key of C harmonicas. I've turned one upside down. So now I'm playing twice as many notes.
Yeah.
That's one way to do it.
Just take two on top of each other.
But I think the piccolo, just put it in your mouth like that. And that's, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90.
Exactly.
I mean, that would be the fastest way to do it. Is just do a little Sonny Terry chord riff thing.
At the same time, I'm just like thinking, like, the bigger your mouth is, I mean, you could put two piccolos into your mouth.
Yes, you could even do that.
And then still playing like a regular one in front of your mouth?
Maybe. with the other thing, I mean, you could also always do this, if this the.
Exactly. Yeah. Today I also started to slide around. Yeah.
That would rack up. If you had the little counter, it would be going like that.
Yeah, it's hard to count down. Yeah. But I started to slide today. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, this is just
or there. That's another possibility.
Yeah, I didn't think about the chromatic yet.
So as fast as you can hit that button.
The puck is even smaller than the piccolo. Okay.
The what?
The Hohner, the puck. The
puck. Yes. Yeah, the puck, and then the piccolo, and what was the other? And then there's the the little one that you wear around your neck.
Yeah.
Little four hole.
I have one that's customized too. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I used to have a one that was a 5-hole. That was
Sure.
and
I
that
think Joe has a 5-hole.
He does, of course. Yes.
Because he played like a solo in third position probably, and he could play the octave, basically.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That sounds like Joe, and he probably had it around his neck with two others, and then there was like a different tune for each one.
Yeah. Where can I get a 5-hole?
I don't know. I haven't seen one in years.
Crazy, yeah. Boa says, "Oh, I got one for you. Push the slide in halfway on a chromatic harmonica."
Yes, he's right. The
That's
minor
true.
second trick. Yes, that's there. That would get you a lot of notes.
Brennan has great stuff for that. The octaharp, selectable, or the switch harp have really cool possibilities for many notes at once. Okay. Oh yeah, Seidel makes the 6-hole, but it's like regularly spaced. Stacking some little ladies. Yeah, thank you for the ideas. Let's see if they come to use. Nice. Yeah, we almost at 1.5 hours. I think that's cool.
Yeah,
We covered some good stuff.
Yeah,
Answered a lot of questions. Thank you everyone for the questions. Yeah.
Well, I have another question for you,
Yeah.
just to see what you have to say. Is just I mean, you have studied in a very systematic way music, going to school and studied classical as well as jazz. And when it comes to somebody learning improvisation, like say they're decent blues harmonica player, they can do a few overblows. What would be one of the best ways to really dive into that world?
I mean, stylistically, for me, it was gypsy jazz.
Okay.
And the other aspect is probably getting used to playing steady streams of eighth notes, which is very unusual in blues, which is like more
Mhm.
lick based kind of, but getting
Right.
used to playing depending on the tempo, like even quarter notes, quarter or eighth notes without any breaks,
Okay.
Just getting
Okay.
used to that. That's just the first thing that is so unusual and feels weird in the beginning. But it's so
Did
important to the important aspect of the jazz language.
did you learn the jazz language primarily on the harmonica, or did you learn it on another instrument and then adapt it to the harmonica?
Oh, I learned it on the harmonica. Yeah.
Okay. And do you put a lot of have you put a lot of work into like basically learning run the arpeggios up and down, different types of arpeggios?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's really a big part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say so.
Could you play a few sample arpeggio exercises?
Oh, sample arpeggio exercises.
Yeah,
Haven't done
I'd
them recently.
love to hear.
That's good. Like I did this stuff like playing major seventh arpeggios and moving them up chromatically and so on. Oh, that's sticky. Yeah, that one for example.
So that was arpeggio up. So are you going arpeggio up and down, or are you doing a scale thing as well?
This is just C major 7, and then I'm
Right.
like ascending, and then I'm playing the D flat major 7 descending. And then I'm
Oh,
playing the D major 7 ascending again.
yeah. So that probably has given you an incredible number of ideas for improv.
And transposing, yeah. I was transposing a lot. Of course, obviously influenced by Howard, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Just
and
playing the scale. And so on, and the other way around.
okay. And so also like going around the circle of fifths, that sort of thing with the scales.
Yeah.
What about the diminished chord stuff? I would think for blues players that would be a really amazing way to get started, because you can use a fully diminished chord in a lot of blues contexts, because it works over a dominant 7. So I'm sure you've worked out some.
Yeah, I'm starting to teach my students very early on too, and like if they want to get into the melodic stuff, we do a lot of stuff in A minor then, and then we incorporate the diminished arpeggio in that key. Playing in A minor. this is the easiest diminished arpeggio to play on the harmonica.
Mm-hmm.
Also the one that resolves to
What,
C
what
major.
key harmonica? What key are you playing?
C harmonica.
And you're playing which harp? No.
Playing like the D diminished arpeggio.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And
So that's the easiest one, and it resolves both to A minor and C major. That's why I teach it very early on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's no overbow in there.
Isn't that fun? Yeah. Yeah, that's one.
And even the scale. Up until 6 or half step band, there's no overblow in there.
On the yeah, right, the D diminished. Okay.
And I have my students resolve this themselves because we can play the C major chord on the harmonica.
Nice. Yeah. So this is and this is something that you do in your private lessons. Right?
Yeah.
So you've mapped out a lot of this territory.
And oh yeah, Gregory's in the chat. 8th notes for gypsy jazz specifically or jazz in general. I would say in gypsy jazz, like arpeggios play a bigger role, because like these songs are from they're even older, and early on it was more about taking the arpeggio notes as your foundation for the improvisation, basically, and then it was just about thinking of how to approach these notes. Like that's the other thing I do with my students. Like if you have an arpeggio like just G major, like approaching it from below chromatically, just a little half step band right in front of the arpeggio note. And I always play this song, like the Mexican hat dance. This is the perfect exercise, like for the G chord, and then you get to do the same thing on the D7 chord, which is so important in 12-bar blues for bar 9. Approaching all of these arpeggio notes chromatically from below. It's such a good song.
Oh, that is so cool. That is so cool.
And then you can play La Cucaracha, that's like the same chord progression. And some mambo stuff. Carlos Arunco has some mambo stuff out there. A song called Let's Mambo. He plays in first position on the C harmonica. And it's the same chord progression. It's just 8 bars. And then I'm like, yeah, grab an F harmonica and play the accompaniment to Carlos, because you can play the blow chord and you got the root chord and the dominant chord. And that's like the Mexican hat dance and La Cucaracha chord progression in that key. So it's so now I'm in F. You would play the melodies on the B flat now, in second position.
Okay.
So you can record your own accompaniment. It's super cool.
That's sweet. That's super. Yeah, that's really. Yeah,
And I should have included this in my book. I didn't. I think I got the melodies in there, the songs, but not like the accompaniment and the connection between.
Do you have a lot of bent note stuff in your book?
Yeah, I feel like in the end there are a lot of songs that require bending.
Yeah, because that's another kind of entry level thing with the arpeggios is doing 6 chords. because they're so great for blues, because that way you can conserve that draw 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, that's something you can do so early on. And, oh yeah, getting back to this thing, gypsy jazz. That's like the first approach, just looking at the arpeggio and then thinking of how you can approach these notes, because the whole thing of that direct relationship between a chord symbol and the scale, that was just something that came later on.
Mm-hmm.
Which is obviously very important as soon as you dive into Charlie Parker and stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely starting out with the arpeggios and how to approach them from below and above.
Right. The chromatic approach notes. It's like that. Right. Just that alone would give you an incredible amount of vocabulary.
Yeah. And they still come into play when thinking and focusing on the scale. I mean, it's still part of Charlie Parker and stuff. It's a combination of both ways of thinking. And then you could do like chromatic approach from below, diatonic approach from above, and then play the actual arpeggio note. That's D major.
Yeah.
And you can think of all these different combinations. And some of them sound a little weird. You could do chromatic approach from above too. Like on a G chord, for example.
Yeah.
Interesting sound.
Yeah. One of my favorites is the thirds up, scale down, go up to the 9 and then come down on the scale, and then just go through the, C, D minor, E minor, etc. And, that's a really good warm up on both the chromatic and the diatonic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I can see I'm definitely going to be taking a lesson from you relatively soon, because it's like I come up with ideas on my own and I've definitely found some cool exercises and stuff, but it's a lot of fun to hear what somebody else does who's been thinking about this for a long time. Yeah.
This I mean, you can already spend years just practicing approach notes of these arpeggios. So
yeah,
it's crazy. All right, I put all of your links into the description box, but I'm gonna post them into the chat again, so everybody can check you out on your website. And are you active on Instagram or Facebook? Like, what do you prefer to use?
Mostly what I do is I do YouTube. I'm trying to become more active in general on the Instagram, and I'm doing a little bit more on Facebook, but yeah, it's one of those areas like Jason is always kicking me in the butt saying, "Richard, get your what's wrong with you?" And I'll get on a roll and I got on a roll making YouTube videos of bugle tunes, and that was fun. I was mapping out the breathing patterns. And, you can take those bugle tunes, you can play them major, you can play them minor, and you can play them diminished.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of a fun little workout. It kind of like takes a familiar, they're all 3-note chords or tunes, So, yeah, the best way to get in touch with me is through my website. Send me an email, get on my email list. I have a teachable school that includes a free fundamentals of the harmonica course that is pretty extensive. And anybody who takes lessons from me, that's the first step, is like, go do that, and then we'll talk. If they've never picked up a harmonica before, because there's a lot of really, really good stuff about exactly how you put the thing in your mouth. For example, it really makes everything much easier if you do that right from the start, rather than having to, try to figure it out and then find out you've learned some bad habits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've started doing some. I'm doing some feedback now for the advanced beginners in Tomlin's harmonica school.
Okay.
So that's been a kind of a fun project. And this year, I've got my own teachable courses, and I'm putting together, these are all things that are like just moving along in their own rate. I'm figuring out how to put a community together on the teachable platform so that I can do more of that sort of thing. I do some lessons with people. They'll send me a recording. I'll listen to it, give them feedback. Or, there's a guy called me up a week ago. He was trying to figure out St. Anne's Reel, and he sent me the recording, and I listened to it, and I said, well, okay, do you have a low D harmonica as well as a high D harmonica? And he said, yes. And I said, you're playing the high D harmonica. You want to play the low D harmonica on the high end, then you're going to find all the notes you're looking for. And, it's just little things like that can save somebody a lot of, stumbling around. So yeah, it's I enjoy teaching. I enjoy learning, and one of my ambitions is to get a lot better at doing some jazz standards.
Yeah.
That's one reason why I'm definitely going to be taking a lesson or two from you.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been playing blues and Irish music and Americana and fiddle tunes and stuff like that for years. And then you start working on a 32 bar form, and it's like, suddenly it's like, whoa. Yeah, I thought I knew what I was doing. And like Autumn Leaves, it's got that major 2-5-1 and then a minor 2-5-1. And I learned to play the chords on the guitar.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. But then I realized, and I'm just at the very beginning of the journey. Yeah.
Cool. That's maybe a good last question. Like, what are you most excited about for the future? Thinking about the future of the harmonica, or is there something you would like to see more that you feel like is missing in the harmonica world?
I'm excited to see more young people get involved. And when I think of what I want to be doing in 5 years, like lately I've been playing with, there's these two guys are brothers. One's 20, one's 17. They're both incredible musicians, and they play fiddle tunes and that kind of wild roots music stuff, like hill country blues and just I love playing with people like that are super into it's not just the music, it's all the stories around the music. It's like it's a different way of learning about history. Like you learn, you learn where this music comes from, and you learn about the history of Ireland and England and the Civil War and all this other stuff. I would like to be, one of the things I want to be doing this year is really starting to record things. There are songs I've been working on for decades, and I've just never bothered to record them. Either, I can't explain it. It's just I've been playing them at gigs. I love the music of it, and I've developed my own versions of them, and I just got to get them down.
Yeah.
Even if it's just field recordings, just put them together so that, like my kids have something to listen to, that sort of thing. And, so yeah, I'm 72. I'm kind of in act 3, and I'm thinking about, I'm kind of thinking about, what kind of recordings and other things do I want to be around when, I check out. And, it means doing the recordings. There are lessons that I've been working on. I'm teaching myself music theory by learning it.
Yeah.
And so I'm distilling it into lessons and then putting them out as videos or whatever. And, and I definitely want to get a lot better at getting out there in the world, telling people more about what I'm doing, because that's part of, I always enjoy it when other people talk about how they're doing their art.
Yeah.
How they do the recording, like, here's a behind the scenes video of a recording session, that sort of thing. I always think that's super cool. And I've always hesitated to do it for myself. And, it's just like, it's sort of time to get over that and just do it,
Yeah.
So those are things I'm thinking about is, and then the really cool thing about music, playing the harmonica in particular as you get older, is that if you take it seriously, it means that you have to do exercise. You have to do aerobic exercise. You have to keep yourself in good shape, because you want to get on stage and you want to have the lung power and the stamina and the endurance to play for 3 hours.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen if you're sitting around eating chips and, watching TV.
Very true.
So I've been, very fortunate in some ways. I've been to doctors and, like they've checked my lungs and they say, wow, you're in pretty good shape. What is it? What are you doing? Why play harmonica?
Yeah.
It's like it makes you use your lungs. It's like in order to play the longest blues riff ever that's all draw notes, you got to make your lungs bigger than normal.
Yeah.
So yeah, so those are the kind of things I'm thinking about for this year. It's like being less shy about promoting myself, getting out there on YouTube, getting out there, and like this has been super fun and exciting. It's like, what am I afraid of? Talking to people. It's really fun once you get going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, there are also platforms I should get more active on. I'm trying on TikTok.
Yeah, I looked at TikTok once and it just seemed to be a lot of 14-year-old girls dancing, and I was like, it was too much nervous energy, and
yeah, it's just crazy how big of a role it plays in the music industry now and people discovering new music.
Well, how are they doing it? I mean, how do they cut through with that algorithm? It's so I don't know. It just seems to change every 10 seconds.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
well, somebody's
big labels start to pay some of these dancers to dance to some of their songs, And there can be like a 15-year-old girl dancing, and she got like 3 million followers, and the label is sending her a message and being like, "Yeah, we're gonna send you 4,000 if you do a video with this song."
Okay. So that's the deal. It's like, well, you're doing some things with hip hop rhythms and stuff
Stuff
like
like
that.
that.
So you just need to find some
Oh yeah.
real, yeah, hot young women
I
to
gotta
dance
gotta
to
think
you.
about that stuff. I'm a lot into Afro beats and working with these Nigerian artists.
Like who and anybody in particular?
No, like there's this guy. He's like not too famous yet. He has the potential. I'm working with him. That's the guy I made the song with. That's playing in the outro too,
Oh, okay, okay.
and he's singing on that one.
Yeah. So are you learning to mix beats?
Yeah, I'm producing. I'm mixing for other people too, mixing vocals and everything.
Oh, so when you mix beats, you're using some sort of a drum machine to work that stuff out.
Oh no, it's just samples
Okay.
and then
So you're
arranging
getting
them.
samples and then working that as part of a. So the samples are like already to drop into the matrix
Yeah,
of a logic. Uh, yeah, yeah. That stuff is fascinating to me.
that's also a whole world in itself.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, we've had some people in our like there. I love checking out groups from like Ghana, like that, like northwestern Africa. Tanaroan, you familiar with them?
Hmm.
You ever seen them?
That's a
Uh,
band. I don't know about it.
yeah, Tanaroan. Yeah, they play a lot of stuff with interesting pentatonic scales, and the rhythms are just super hypnotic,
Yeah.
wonderful. Uh, yeah, love that stuff. I would. There are a couple. There's a couple women in Pittsburgh that do West African drumming, and I have played with them from time to time. And when you get a blues guitar, like acoustic blues guitar and harmonica, and some really good West African drummers, it's like you could stay up all night.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So we got all the links in the chat. Everybody, let me think. The next Hohner Live, I'm doing it with. I'm going to talk to Victor Puertas. He will also play at the Berlin Harmonica Festival in May. We're going to do the live on February 28th or 29th. I'll let you know. So, yeah, see you then. Thank you so much for taking the time, Richard. That was cool.
Oh, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's going to be a lot of fun to explore more of your. I've been listening to you for a long time, but I've discovered that there are definitely recordings that I haven't tapped into yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to do it, and expect to hear from me for a lesson.
I hope you check out the good stuff that I put out.
Well, everything I've heard so far has been really great. Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, Pete and Boaz and everybody. Thank you. Ciao for now.
All right. Thanks for tuning in.
My lady, you know me, no forgive up on you never. Wanna be with you forever, 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 forever. Oh baby, where we they go, now forward ever, backward never. Then they pray, make we run down never, 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 never. I'ma get that low. Tell you the best I know. Our next move, they never know, they never know. When you go check I know, you're the best I know. Our next move, they never know, they never know. They never know. girl, I be feeling this love. Even when I'm down, you wonder waiting this up. It's not blessing, I'ma no be luck. Baby, nobody feel day like you. I said nobody feel make me feel the way you do. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go check low. Girl, you the best